This video is a gentleman that came who had an eating disorder. So if you are struggling with an eating disorder, watch this interview and you'll see how emotional reset therapy can actually help with this problem.
I'm just with Simon. Simon obviously doesn't want people to see who he is, so he hasn't put his video on. But how are you, Simon? You okay?
Yeah, I'm doing well, thank you.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for obviously coming on and doing this testimonial for me. As I think it might help other people who's suffering from or suffering for the same sort of problem. So I done a session with Simon. I would say it was back in the summer, so it was probably 4 or 5 months ago.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Okay, so we done some emotional reset therapy with him. So I've just got a couple of questions there for Simon that obviously might help other people that was suffering with the same thing. So can you tell me a little bit about what you was suffering with before the session?
Yeah, well, it's fairly complicated but simple at the same time. It's really just some kind of, I wouldn't have called it an eating disorder, but I would have called it perhaps a phobia at one point, or just a bit of a weirdism, for want of a better word. But yeah, it was just where I had like a block with certain foods, a lot of food. So my food, the food I selected to eat and the food I would eat would be a very narrow band, safe food, mostly junk food, to be honest with you. And it's just problematic, and it's awkward in work as well as socially. So it was just an unusual thing, which, after a number of years, could do with not having that anxiety with it.
Okay, so when you were put in a situation, then that's when you get the anxiety. Is that right?
Yes, I mean, I wouldn't have said it was anxiety until you kind of think about it. But yes, it wasn't anxiety. It was just an uncomfortable situation where we go into typically a restaurant or a venue which I hadn't been to before, especially if it's a better junk food establishment. And yes, and going in, and I would start getting quite anxious and aggravated with these situations.
Okay, just so other people who were suffering with the same thing. So can you just talk about what the feelings or the physical effects of that?
Yeah, it's difficult with physical effects, but it was just you. I would become less patient. I would become kind of short-tempered, and to be honest, in the extremes of going to some places where I knew there was nothing I would want to eat or would like to eat, I would try and evade it and avoid it as much as I possibly could. So from a physical point of view, I just got angry, not verbal, and just really wouldn't want to be in that situation. But I'm sure my blood pressure would have rose with these situations.
Okay, so what about leading up to, so say, I don't know, you know that you're going to be put in that situation. So would you be, what would you be like leading up to it?
That's a very good question. So that's the problem. So if it was like a Friday night, for example, if I knew it like a day before, I'd be okay. But I bet you 24 hours before I'd be going out or arrange to go out, then I'd start worrying too much. Perhaps not overtly, but it would start getting me kind of, right, what am I going to do? And it start making me, as I say, anxious. And I'm sure, as I say, the blood pressure would have risen. It would not in a pleasant experience, or not to want to have an experience coming my way where I lost control of that situation.
Brilliant. Okay, so obviously we've done a session on this, and only just one session. So for people listening, can you tell people about the session that we've done together and how you found it?
Yeah, it's so it's difficult in some ways because it was like chatting to a friend I've had for a long, long time, and it was just really, it was very calming, and it was just it was like a general chat with someone over a couple of drinks. It was nothing kind of forced or pushed upon. It was just like, well, what about this, and how did you feel then? I was just really chatting it through, Um, it was good because I mean I have had kind of relaxation therapy before, and it kind of did something, but not really that much. And you kind of put it in the back of your mind, well, it's just me, it's the way I'm going to be. But it did make a difference. I mean, since we had our discussion, our chat, therapy, whatever you would like to call it, it the the anxiety has toned down. I wouldn't say it's got 100%, but it's in a situation now where professionally and socially, I can go out and go, well, I can deal with it. There's nothing there, there's nothing heavy, and the anxiety has dissipated to a hell of a lot, really well. So managing, so it's manageable now. But the actual session itself, it was really good. It was just a general chat. It was nothing that I would have seen as threatening or as divisive or interrogating. It was just a chat, which was kind of with a few kind of like mild questions in there. At the end of it, it was good. I can't explain all of it, to be honest with you, but it was really good.
Okay. Can you remember what it felt like actually when you got down to the nitty gritty and found out what we call it programming that is something within your program that's actually affecting you now about something going back? Can you actually tell me? I don't want you to tell me about what happened, but tell me about the feelings of how you felt when we actually got to the bottom of it.
Yeah, that's a really good question because it was it's kind of I could kind of kick myself because it's like, well, it's really obvious. Why haven't I thought this out myself? Why do I need someone to kind of just have a chat about this and kind of open up with it? But yeah, I say I kind of it was really um I wouldn't say it's an obvious pressure release, but that's what it was. It was kind of, well, this is kind of dawning on, well, yeah, this is daft why I'm doing this, and you kind of logically thinking it through, and then it was really just a question of, well, yeah, okay, why is that? And I say I can't really explain it all. I'll be honest with you, but it did make a difference.
Brilliant. So, since the session, obviously you talked about earlier on that you haven't had the anxiety as much,
Yeah,
but I know talking offline, you said about some of the foods now that you've tried that you never tried
yeah,
before,
yeah,
and and uh, and obviously expanding your palate.
yeah. It is different. I from a logical, normal person thinking, well, this is just crazy. It's expanded. Don't get me wrong, it's still, I imagine, there's a big list of things out there. It's like, oh, I won't touch that. But there's not quite I used to explain it as being like a force field. So in some cases, I could put something on a fork and get it, towards my mouth, and then that would be it. No more force field down. No. Now it's a lot more. Yeah, maybe I'll have a go. Which sounds, as I say, to the most normal people out there, it sounds completely whack. But that's how it was. And as I say, it's not. It wouldn't sound perfect by any means. But it's the 24 hours before, and it's not so bad. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd still, if I'm going to somewhere new, I'd probably still check out for a menu. But I'm pretty comfortable now that it's like, well, I could probably have a got most things. So it has opened up a wider, uh, wider skills, perhaps a wider menu, and it makes it perhaps put a bit more confidence. Which I'm a confident guy anyway, but it does help.
Brilliant. Yeah. So would you say that without that, because the way emotional reset therapy works is helps with the emotion, so then you can actually make the choices. So you haven't got a strong emotion backing it up to stop you from making the choices. So it's kind of easier to make choices. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, it's kind of puts me back in the controlling situation rather than me just tensing up and worrying about it. It's like, well, okay, come on, let's try it and let's go for it. Let's see. And at any point, I know I can go yes, no, change. But it is kind of giving a bit more choice, control, and all done in a kind of a very sensible but obvious way, which I just couldn't see the wood for the trees beforehand.
Okay. So have you spoke to anybody about this before, or have you tried anything else?
I did try relaxation therapy, which did something, don't get me wrong, but it didn't. it did something. It did change something, but not. It was good for relaxation, but it didn't really get rid of that kind of anxiety bit beforehand, not as well and as effectively as it is a more obvious change since that session we had than before. But the person I had it before was very good, and they said it did do something, but it just didn't seem to be the catalyst. It just seemed to be, okay, I understand it.
Brilliant. Okay, well, I just want to thank you very much for your testimonial and coming to obviously tell other people about your experience with emotional reset therapy. And
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm really pleased that it's helped you to actually be able to put yourself in a situation where you wasn't able to do that before.
Yeah.
And just really thank you for your feedback, and hopefully other people with the same problem can watch this and may be able to help them as well, or they may be able to read about emotional reset therapy as well.
Yes, and I'd like to say really, it's thank you, really, because it's you the one who's helped me out. And I mean, I wouldn't say I'm going to put this in the right framing. People who are, I mean, I wouldn't have thought of this 5 years ago. Go, nah, it's me. I'm not going to change. I'm set in my ways. But you know what? For the sake of an hour, what you got to lose, and I think what you got to gain is a hell of a lot more. So it's really worth having a go at it. As I said, the way you kind of, I didn't even realize at the time it was kind of going down the route of but it was just a general chat, which I think was amazing. So yeah, thank you very much.
Brilliant. Well, thank you, Simon, for your time, and and obviously we'll speak soon.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Thank you.
So if you like these videos, then give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more of my videos, then subscribe to my channel. And if you would like a session with me using emotional reset therapy, then follow the details below and you can contact me. Thank you for watching.